It is an early Friday fall morning here on the C&O Canal, and I am impressed by how perfect the weather is, temperature-wise and relatively low humidity for DC, and how perfect the sunlight is, and also by how few people on an early Friday morning are out on the C&O Canal or its trails and bike paths, walking or running. So funny. This leads up into Georgetown Park, which is a mall with a condo above it. But it has a door onto the path of the C&O Canal. Anyway, there are two parts of this video. I decided to not make either one much more than 10 minutes long. And while crazy people fight with each other about whether and how much to intervene in Syria, I decided to come down here and attempt to make a sort of peaceful tape. There are, in fact, a lot of planes and helicopters making noise. It kind of reverberates, since, as you can see, I'm down in the canyon. There's this retaining wall. On that side is M Street and Dina DeLuca and Georgetown Park. And on this side are all these old factories and mills that used to be serviced by the C&O Canal, which would bring grain and iron ore and everything else you can imagine from Ohio and West Virginia and Virginia to DC, or to Georgetown before there was a DC, and probably before there was the United States, to be processed in these mills. These mills are now, as you might be able to see, that one's obviously now some kind of office building with fluorescent lighting, not a mill. The Gates Foundation is down here, and there are a lot of extremely expensive condos down here too, including condos that look out on the Potomac waterfront near the Key Bridge to Roswell, including some where you could, when they first were sold off, pay $750,000 for a one-bedroom, very large, very nice one-bedroom that probably had 1.5 baths. It was probably over 1,000 square feet with a garage space. You could pay $750,000 for that for a one-bedroom apartment. Anyway, you see a plane up above. The planes are required to fly mainly over the Potomac so that they do not rattle people's houses. Anyway, this is all right in the heart of Georgetown. Actually, we're a little east of the heart of Georgetown now, but we're between Georgetown, the neighborhood, although all these buildings are part of Georgetown, and Georgetown University. We're headed west. That structure you see in front of us with the kind of windows with a lot of black crosshatch bars, that's the one of the newer, more expensive condos. And we may be able to see a feature of it in a second, which is a really odd feature. We're building something beside it, apparently. The odd feature is the Whitehurst Freeway, which is a little teeny freeway. Yep, there it is. It's a little teeny freeway that takes you from around 35th and M as soon as you cross the Key Bridge. Actually, it takes you before you cross the Key Bridge. It's a freeway that's an exit ramp off a bridge. And it takes you down to the Watergate, basically, to Foggy Bottom around 24th and K, maybe. And the freeway, which is elevated about 2 stories above K Street below it, runs in the air right in front of this building. And there are people who, they don't get the right kind of blinds. They sit at a dining room table and they see, oh, there, you can see a truck. You saw a truck passing. There'll be another one in a second. See, there's another truck. Those tall buildings in the distance are Roswell, Virginia, where there's no law forbidding buildings over 10 or 11 stories, so they have buildings that are 40 and 50 stories. Anyway, the freeway is over there. And if you bought the wrong $1 or $2 million apartment here, I think this is called Water Place, then you're sitting at your dining room table. and you will look out the window and see a truck barreling toward you on the freeway that looks like it's going to crash into your apartment. Of course, it doesn't crash into your apartment, and if you put up blinds, you don't have to look at it. Someone lost their pants last night. One always wonders how. Did they go skinny dipping? When they got out, did they forget that they were not dressed? Did they go home in their wet bathing suit? What happened exactly? Usually it's not a whole pair of pants, it's a foundation garment or a sweater or a hoodie. I don't know if you could actually run a thrift shop just by going up and down this and collecting the abandoned clothing and washing it, but you might be able to. There were some waterfowl in the first segment of this two-part video, but they were down in the shallow end. They don't seem to be here. I'm a little surprised they're not fishing. That bridge that has the cars parked on it, not the one with the man walking, is actually Key Bridge, named after Francis Scott Key. It goes from Georgetown over to Arlington, Virginia. I believe that this is actually the back of the Gates Foundation. I think they're still there. Those windows look kind of dark, but this factory that now has the giant paneled windows there. It's where Bill and Melinda Gates parked a lot of their money, so it's full of do-gooders trying to figure out how to spend their money. Clearly, they spent a lot of it right here, buying this building. I've never seen programs or anything happening at the Gates Foundation that one could attend. I go to a lot of think tanky stuff. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe they're just off on some topic like HIV prevention in the third world that I only keep up with the news and don't otherwise get involved in. Maybe that's it. Now we're crossing to this teeny little industrial area. It's not really industrial, but there's an area under Key Bridge that's full of like fight clubby gyms and places that rent you boats and kayaks and other odds and ends. You can see Roslyn again. I'm sure there used to be actual industry down there, and some of the structures are like a lot of Georgetown, things left over from when there was actual industry. Here we have a little cave created by the vegetation. I would not be walking around here with my film equipment or my smartphone or my iPad if it weren't a brilliant sunny morning. I don't know if it makes it more or less safe that there appears to be no one around. I'm radically underdressed, so I myself look like a crazy person today. Maybe that will help should there be any encounters. And speaking of encounters, this, of course, the bridge is here. This is almost another subject for somebody else to do a video on who knows more about it, but the bridges here are all tagged with graffiti underneath. I'm sure it all means something, but I don't know anything about graffiti or gang tags, so I don't know what they're all telling each other. A lot of them, though, so if they're all claiming it as turf, its ownership is in question. Anyway, as you can see, this just continues on forever. I've actually biked a good way out into Maryland. It definitely goes on for like 10 or 20 miles. Whether you can still make it to Ohio as you once could with your barge and your donkey carrying grain into DC so that President Washington's contemporaries could grind it into flour or cornmeal. I don't know. Anyway, I think we're going to stop here. And if you're desperate to see more, there are tapes of the C&O Canal farther out, filmed by me while riding a bicycle.